If I ask you, what is the highest grossing animated film of all time, globally? Are you thinking about some Pixar films? Or maybe Disney films? Probably something from the Hollywood, right? Well, what if I tell you the highest grossing animated film of all time is a Chinese film? Let's welcome the black horse of this year, Nezha 2. If you're active on social media, especially on TikTok, then you probably have heard of this film already. Nezha 2 dethroned Inside Out 2 to become the highest grossing animated film of all time, shattering box office with a total of $2 billion US, and it is currently chasing closely behind Titanic. The way that I see it, it is very likely to dethrone Titanic after April 4th because the Japanese subtitle version of the film is set to be released in Japan on that date. It is currently playing in Japan with the Chinese and English subtitle versions. Now, let's get back to Nezha 2 and let me answer some of your burning questions today, including what is this movie about? Who is Nezha? And why Chinese love Nezha? Without any further ado, let's get it started! First, let's talk about the movies of Nezha and Nezha 2. Both movies tell the story of Nezha, a famous figure in Chinese mythology. The first movie covers his birth, discipleship, the curse of his birth, and the death of his physical body. The second movie follows his struggle to rebuild his physical body and includes the iconic Nezha churns the sea storyline. Put it simply, Nezha has a huge battle in the sea. These two movies are adaptations of Investitures of the Gods, a Ming Dynasty classic that contains myths about Nezha. However, some elements were modified, such as the removal of Nezha's most famous self-sacrifice scene. In the book, Nezha's physical death was by self-sacrifice, famously known as cutting off bones to return to father, slicing off flesh to return to mother. This is a famous line known to Chinese people, but it does not actually appear in Investiture of the Gods. Instead, it comes from earlier text that predates Investiture of the Gods. To do this, he had to cut off his arm and slice open his belly. It's a very graphic, very gruesome scene. This is why later in the story, Nezha's master used lotus root to reconstruct Nezha's physical body. If you're interested in watching Nezha 2, you can first check out the first movie on YouTube. It's official and it's free. I will put the link in the description box. Personally, I think Nezha 2 is really well made, especially in terms of action choreography. There's a stunning fight scene on water and bamboo that beautifully blends Chinese martial arts and aesthetics. Up to this point, you might think that Nezha originally comes from Investiture of the Gods, right? No. Nezha's existence is much older than the book. Now, let's talk about who is Nezha. Nezha is the third child of the Li family. He's also known as the third prince of the heavenly king, Li Jing. Nezha was born a human and later became a god. His origins trace back to ancient India, where he has a different name, Narakuvara or Narakubara. If you're a gamer and you have played Black Myth Wukong before, then you definitely have seen Nezha in Chapter 5 animation. This is Nezha in Black Myth Wukong. The plot of the movie Nezha 2 adapts from Investiture of the Gods. This book gives Nezha a rich backstory and well-developed character while placing him within a huge system of deities. Before this book, there are many Nezha references from other books. Nezha's earliest appearance can be traced back to the Buddha Charita, or the Life of Buddha. It's a Buddhist scripture introduced to China during the Jin Dynasty. That's right, Nezha's prototype actually comes from an ancient Indian Buddhist deity named Narakuvara. Doesn't he look quite different than the Nezha we know today? That's because Nezha has been indigenized over 1600 years and he eventually evolved into the Chinese mythological figure that we recognize today. Let's get back to the scripture, Buddha Charita. In the scripture, it mentions, like the city of the Lord of Wealth, crowded with heavenly nymphs, at the birth of his son, Narakuvara. This Narakuvara eventually became Nezha through translation and simplification. Meanwhile, in the poem, the Lord of Wealth is Vaisravana, who is the father of Nalakuvara. Vaisravana is based on Kubra, the god of wealth in Hinduism, but in Buddhism, he's known as Vaisravana. Vaisravana is the god of warfare and one of the 4 heavenly kings, and he corresponds to Nezha's father, Li Jing, in Chinese mythology. However, when you look at the name Vaisravana or Kubra, they are drastically different than Li Jing. The name Li Jing is so Chinese. Why is that? First of all, unlike Nezha, Li Jing was a real historical figure. He was the founding general of the Tang Dynasty and had significant military achievements. Second, Buddhism flourished during the Tang Dynasty, and people revered Vaisravana, believing he could help the nation win wars. After all, in Buddhism, he is the guardian of the northern direction. Over time, people merged these 2 figures together because of their similarities, which is how we got the pagoda-bearing heavenly king Li Jing as we know him today. Now, let's talk about Nezha. After indigenization, during the Song Dynasty, the poet Su Shi wrote a poem about Nezha in Luancheng Ji. It goes, "The northern heavenly king has a rebellious son who worships Buddha but not his father. Seeing his ignorance and unwillingness to listen, the Buddha commanded his father to raise his left hand with a pagoda." Although the name Li Jing is not mentioned in this poem, you can see the image of heavenly king Li Jing holding a pagoda and the depiction of his rebellious son. This son disrespects his father but respects the Buddha. So the Buddha grants the heavenly king a pagoda to subdue his own son. There's another Nezha reference from a different time period. During the Southern Song period, Wu Deng Hui Yuan, a historical text on Chinese Chan Buddhism, writes in its 2nd volume, Prince Nezha, he returned his flesh to his mother and his bones to his father. Then he revealed his true form, wielding great divine power, and preached the Dharma to his parents. This passage includes the well-known Chinese story of Nezha's self-sacrifice. Moving forward in time, during the Yuan dynasty, a book titled 三教源流搜神大全 was written and later completed in the Ming dynasty. This book provided Nezha with a complete backstory in a concise manner, covering his birth into the Li family, his family members, the troubles he caused, his self-sacrifice to clear his parents' names, and his battle achievements, including his fights against the Red Monkey. Is this monkey Sun Wukong? We don't know. The book never mentioned. In this book, Nezha is depicted as 6 zhang tall. Zhang is a Chinese unit, so 1 zhang would be 3.33 meters. Then 6 zhang is almost 20 meters. Nezha was almost 20 meters tall in this book. And he has 3 heads, 9 eyes, and 8 arms. Different than the 3-headed, 6-armed version most Chinese are familiar with. This story is fascinating. I tried to translate it into English, but unfortunately, I had trouble understanding the Chinese text due to the lack of commas and difficult words. So, I color-coded some sections to translate. Feel free to pause this video here to read through it if you're interested. Basically, all the works that I mentioned above helped shape Nezha's character in Investiture of the Gods. In this book, Nezha is also depicted with 3 heads and 8 arms. However, many people today picture Nezha as having 3 heads and 6 arms. Why is that? That's because in Journey to the West, Nezha is portrayed with 3 heads and 6 arms. And other Nezha animations also reinforced this image, which led to the widespread belief that Nezha has 3 heads and 6 arms. Next up, let me give you a brief introduction to Investiture of the Gods. There are 2 English translations for the title of this book, Investiture of the Gods and Creation of the Gods. Personally, I think the former version is much more accurate in translating the title. However, either version is fine, and you can find both of them on Internet Archive. The book I'm holding right now has both Chinese and English translations, so if you are bilingual, then you might want to check out this version. This is what it looks like. I will put the information of this book in the description box. Investiture of the Gods incorporate many folklores and references from multiple books, including 武王伐纣平话 and 列国志传. It also takes inspiration from 三教源流搜神大全 for Nezha's background story. The story of the book takes place at the end of the Shang dynasty. There was an emperor called King Zhou who infuriated the creator of mankind, goddess 女娲, by writing a love poem on a wall in an attempt to flirt with her. That angered the goddess, so she sent a 1,000-year-old fox spirit, a jade pipa spirit, and a 9-headed pheasant spirit into the palace to bewitch King Zhou and bring about the downfall of the Shang dynasty. The fox spirit was the 9-tailed fox. She and the tyrant King Zhou indulged in endless pleasure and extravagance, corrupting the country and causing immense suffering among the people. In response, Ji Chang, one of the feudal lords, and Jiang Ziya, the main character of this book, led a rebellion against King Zhou. Their uprising ultimately brought an end to the Shang dynasty and established the Zhou dynasty in its place. This is a brutally short introduction, and I only focus on the things that were going on in the human realm. There were some other things going on in the heaven realm. Throughout the story, you'll encounter many famous Chinese mythological figures, and some of you already know them, such as Erlang and the 9-tailed fox, and many more. For some reasons, the 9-tailed fox has a strong cultural influence in the Sinosphere. Even though Nezha has a strong cultural influence, he's not the main character of this book. The main character is Jiang Ziya, but Nezha plays an important part in the battle of overthrowing King Zhou. Nezha's story is primarily covered in only 3 chapters, chapter 12, 13, and 14. He also shows up here and there in other chapters as well. So, if you're interested in reading about him, it's quite simple. Just read those 3 chapters, and you don't need to read the chapters before chapter 12. Or you can just wait for my next video. Some of you probably have this question, since there are some characters show up in both Investiture of the Gods and Journey to the West. What's the relationship between these 2 books, and are they sharing the same universe? Well, Journey to the West was written earlier than Investiture of the Gods. However, the story of Investiture of the Gods is set in the Shang dynasty, while Journey to the West is set in the Tang dynasty, which is over 1600 years apart. Why do people, even Chinese people, think these 2 books share the same universe? That's because the author of Investiture of the Gods borrowed some elements from Journey to the West. For example, characters like Erlang Shen, Nezha, Mu Zha, Li Jing, Taishang Laojun, etc. appear in both books. This led many people to believe that they exist within the same universe, but just in different time periods. However, these 2 books do not share the same universe. I would say they are similar, but the deity system in the 2 books is different. For instance, the sects Jie Taoism and Chan Taoism from Investiture of the Gods don't exist in Journey to the West. Even though the 2 books have different universes, modern adaptations usually merge them together. For example, in Nezha 2, you can see Sun Wukong's staff in the huge battle scene. If you think about it, the Dragon King of the East Sea in Nezha 2 is the one who gives the staff to Sun Wukong in Journey to the West. I would say it's really fun to merge the universes together. Now, to the final question, let's talk about why Chinese love Nezha. For Chinese people in the modern times, we love Nezha because he represents a rebellious spirit who defies authority, is fearless in fighting off villains such as the evil dragons, and is so mighty that he becomes a young general leading armies into battles. I specifically said Chinese people in the modern times because most people's impression of Nezha comes from TV shows, animations, and movies, which have significantly romanticized Nezha's character. So, if you read Investiture of the Gods, you'll find that Nezha is actually incredibly unreasonable and bad. He's a bad kid. You will see that side of him after he caused some big troubles. Just how unreasonable and bad is he? Well, if you want to know what Nezha did in the book, stay tuned for the next video. Bye bye.